Hi, I'm Pam Condie. I'm a certified professional resume writer. I hope you enjoy my presentation today. Thank you for the ideas that you shared with me in your emails. I'll begin with answering some of your questions. Most of my clients, first of all, the question is, what group is reaching out to you the most this year for resume help? Most of my clients historically are between 45 and 55 in age, something that's been consistent over the years. However, I have worked with a 17-year-old and a 76-year-old. The 76-year-old was a woman who was very early in computers. The variety of clients is stimulating. What do people most appreciate about you and the resumes that you write for them? I'm going to let a client answer this one for me. I enjoyed brainstorming with Pam so that we could compose a coherent picture that flowed. She's both fun and easy to work with. She makes the process challenging yet manageable by working with small pieces that built my confidence so that we could complete the resume successfully. Years later, she helped me compose my graduate school application essays. Even though the two essays were markedly different from one another, I was accepted at both MBA programs. Now I have a creative and challenging job in Manhattan. He's working with a medical startup. What is the best time to polish your resume before you need to send it out? Well, the conventional wisdom is the first day of your new job. But I think you ought to wait a little bit. Let the ideas kind of simmer in the back of your mind. And take this up as a challenge on New Year's Day when you have nothing to do but reflect. At least that's what I do on that day. You need to reflect on where you're going in life, and that's a good time to update your resume. Why would some clients come to you to help them write their resumes instead of going online and using templates and tutorials and doing it themselves? This was sent by someone who's of the latest generation. And he said, we think we know everything. Okay. Have you ever seen a man in a custom-made suit? Do you remember Ron Dellums, the politician? He was controversial, but he always looked like $1 million. Did you ever notice the way his suits fit? Lapels perfectly conformed to his chest. Shoulder was in the right place. He always looked terrific. That is what a custom-made resume does for a job applicant. It increases his confidence in presenting himself to the prospective employer. How far back in time do you go on a resume? Well, usually about 10 years. Depends on the individual circumstances. Anything on a resume is a judgment call. Keep in mind what you put on the resume needs to be relevant for the job you're going after. In other words, let's say you worked as a waitress right out of college because you couldn't find anything else. Leave it off. Doesn't matter. Resume clients' feelings are something that are very important to me. So I'm going to read to you a number of questions that you might consider. Writing about myself feels threatening. I'm too close to the subject to be objective. I fear I will sound as if I were bragging and don't understand how to handle my information. What do I include and what do I leave out? I lack confidence in handling English mechanics such as grammar, usage, and punctuation. And I might add here, I love working with people who are born in other countries where English was not the language they grew up with because I can really help them. I'm unsure what the prospective employer is looking for in a new employee. What information belongs on a resume? Do I need a cover letter as well? Cover letters are a little controversial. Some people think LinkedIn takes care of that, but it really doesn't. Why would you give up an opportunity to sell? That's what the cover letter is. So is the thank you note you write after the interview. What do I state as my objective? Do I really need one? Or do I just let the employer see my skill set and place me where he needs the most help in his company? No, you don't ask the employer to be your career coach. You go to Louise Gokul for that. There is one exception to this, though, and that is when you're applying for a government job. They want your list of talents and abilities, and they'll fit you in where they want to put you. It's just a different approach. I took 2 years off to care for my elderly parent. Will that make me look less than desirable for an employer? Well, put yourself in the employer's position. Wouldn't you want to hire somebody that had that kind of dedication, consistency, love? I would. There are gaps in my employment history. Is it possible to handle them in a positive way? Yes. I recently worked with a man who took 1.5 years off from regular employment because he wanted to see his kids through some critical years in high school, and he became a combination general contractor and day laborer for himself at the same time, and he did IT work around the neighborhood. When you have an exception, take it on. Handle it well. If it's unusual, I put in something called a note to the reader on the left so that we don't stop the reader's eyeballs. You've got 6 seconds to impress a recruiter. If you don't impress them in 6 seconds on paper, that's it. You're finished. So what I write are called custom resumes, like the custom-made suit. There are 2 types of resume writers that I have run across. One are resume mills, where I move them in, move them out. You feel like a car in a car wash. Those are called volume businesses, and somebody is doing that, just moving as fast as possible. I don't like that because it's not any fun. If I can't see you and look you in the eye, I have trouble knowing who you are. So that's why I only work in person in my Oakland office. I need to know who you are. I get more robust information when I can look at you. Custom means that I take the time to get to know you so that I can truly understand and represent you when I write about you. I give everybody a homework assignment. This is on my website, pamcondieresumes.com. And I have them write a series of PAR statements, P-A-R. P is for a problem you've been faced with, preferably on the job. Describe what it is. It's not a negative necessarily, it's just a new challenge. Maybe the boss says, okay, in this corner of the business we're not making much money. Corey, I want you to find out why and get back to me and write a report. A is for the action you took, and R is for the results. Measure results where you can. If you're a salesperson, it's easy to do, it's bottom line dollars. But even if you can't measure the results in something so concrete as that, we need to describe them well. PARs are fun to do. I know you might not believe this, but you will do it and you will realize it is fun. When you write your PARs, and I ask people to make a minimum of 3 and no limit on them because we can pick and choose what we want to use on the resume, involve your friends and family because they'll remember angles on things that you might forget, and they will catch you if you're being modest. If you're modest with me, I can't do my job. I can only write what you tell me. So don't go into that place of modesty. Think about enrolling people or maybe pretend you're speaking to a reporter, whatever it takes, but I need to know the full facts. Okay, here's what we do with PARs. They're essential to the resume. They're gold in an interview. When you go into that conference room and look across the table at someone else and you might feel a little intimidated, remember the study that my professional association did. That interviewer is 3 times more scared than you can possibly be. I know that's hard to believe, but it's true. But when the interviewer sits you down and says, well, Andrew, tell me about yourself, and you think, what does he want? Where do I go with this? How do I look intelligent? You will pull out your manila folder I told you to bring with extra copies of your resume, and your full PARs will be in there. When I write your PARs on the resume, I have to compress them. In the interview, you can expand them. You can give them all the gory details of all the problems you solved. So when you say to the interviewer, may I tell you about some problems I've solved? You look confident, you look prepared, you have done a kindness to the interviewer, you've put him at ease, he knows you have something to say, and you can move on with the interview. Keep in mind the reason employers are interested in you, and this is their only reason, is what can you do for me? I will close with one of my favorite quotations that's also what I call my value statement. The greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your gifts, but to reveal to him his own. That's from Benjamin Disraeli, a British Prime Minister, and I liked his way with words. Thank you for your attention.